people need to be aware that there is social VR out there. Now, people using our Ansible system can use it with a head-mounted display. And that's not a problem. I mean, the bells and whistles to put a head-mounted display attached to social VR in Second Life or OpenSim was not a huge amount of work, and it was like ready to roll. We need to acknowledge that there is social VR out there, and High Fidelity certainly is in the same ballpark. They've been using head-mounted displays of various types and connecting everything together. So the social VR is out there. It didn't need to be invented. I am Jackie Morey, and I am chief scientist and founder of the company All These Worlds, which does meaningful forms of virtual reality and virtual world work. And you are listening to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley.
Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre. Hi, Joe.
Hello, Drax.
Good to have you back on this podcast with all the news going on. You know, Linden Labs Project Sansa is going to be called Created Reality and all that. Oh, it's not?
Well, I don't know, but I doubt it.
So there's rumors about this. Inarapay was digging, and there are websites registered, domains registered under that name.
I think that in these days, name recognizability is so important. Brand is so important. And it is just not a very good name. WordPress is universally known as just one thing. You know what you're looking for. You know what you're going to find. I think that, Project Sansa at least is a little bit more unique. But I think they'll have to go and find something that's much easier to find, that's much more unique and also shorter.
I tend to think maybe a fantasy name or made up name is probably best, because we have all this. With Second Life, we've seen that people have it's such a heavy word, life. It carries so much meaning, different meaning for so many different people. And the word reality, arguably carries almost as much as, different meanings. What is reality? Do we know?
I really like the name virtuality, but I think it's already been taken by about 12 dozen companies and 3 movies.
I like goggle-de-goo.
Thank God nobody's listening to you then.
I don't have a marketing degree, so people shouldn't be listening to me. People should only listen to people with marketing degrees. You heard it here first.
And common sense. I mean, make it a name that sort of almost immediately tells you what you're going to get. Try and weave virtual reality into it somehow. Yeah,
but there are people who are arguing that, for example, virtual has negative connotations too because it's not real. So
but at the moment, in a year's time, virtual reality is going to be everywhere, and it's going to be just as negative as television and radio and internet. I mean, it's we're going there.
Anyway, there's also Oculus Connect happening as we go to air, wrapping up in Los Angeles, actually. We're not talking about this today, but next week, Joe will have someone giving us the lowdown on this second annual developers conference, Oculus Connect, someone who actually took a selfie with Oculus founder Palmer Luckey, so she knows absolutely what's happening in that realm. Facebook is supporting 360 videos. I just want to throw that in as a random bit of VR news at the top of the hour as well. We'll talk about that in the context of Oculus Connect next week. Today, Dr. Jackie Morey, VR pioneer, who kind of doesn't need an introduction because then the show would be over with listing all her accomplishments. But today we talk about her Ansible project that helps astronauts on the way to Mars or other faraway destinations in space to stay engaged with their family down on Earth. And she's testing this technology right now with 6 people who are confined in a confined space in Hawaii. No, they're not on Waikiki Beach. They're in a place that is simulating the Mars habitat. And Jackie is with her team testing the virtual environment that she created for these astronauts, and it's built in OpenSim.
That is so exciting. And, I would rather spend a year or half a year in a box pretending I'm in space than on a beach in Hawaii.
It's a fascinating project that she built in OpenSim, but she is currently porting to high fidelity, so we'll have that in the bulk of the show. Quick housekeeping notes. You can get in touch with us, Avatar Drax Files. You can send us news scoops to radio@draxfiles.com. You can call us on Skype, Drax Files, voicemail anytime. If the sound is a bit weird today on my end, I'm still in a kind of a... No, I'm not drunk. Not today. I know it's Oktoberfest and all that, but I'm not drunk. No.
Trinken, trinken, wollen wir trinken.
Joe, I'm not going to talk to you about the Australian who fell off a balcony last week at the Oktoberfest.
Okay.
Okay, you can read that in the tabloids yourself.
It's what Australians do.
I'm in a half-built studio, so the soundproofing and the absorbers are not quite up, so there might be a little weird sound. Anyway, you can become a sponsor with us. You can have your own banners displayed on the website, mentioned every single show. We have lots of great sponsors like Pyrain, who makes Arrow's avatars, by the way. Dragster is Arrow's avatars exclusively. I wear that skin exclusively. I don't have a mesh avatar. Why do I need one? I have Arrow's avatars. You know, people always say when I show them posters of my avatar, yeah, I have posters.
You have posters of your avatar?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they're displayed all over the house, you know. It might be borderline, it might sound borderline narcissistic.
Oh my God. What's wrong with you? There's so many weird people in Second Life.
I'm going to let that stand and see if people actually believe if that's true or not. So
I so believe it, and I know you.
All right. So we're going to talk about more avatars later on in just a little bit, because there's something really funny that is happening concerning Second Life avatars. You might have seen it, but Joe will talk about it. So you can support the show also on an individual basis, $100 Linden per month. It keeps it going. We really appreciate the support. That's $25 Linden per show. Come on. Send us a message. We'll send you a subscription device made by Chris Lehman. That's it. Let's go to the news here. Our sponsor, Bright Canopy, Joe, they provide Second Life in a browser. They have an announcement that they're back after crashing the service through the onslaught of interest, but also through the pricing that increased on their end because the servers were quite expensive that Bright Canopy is providing for this service. They're back and they're providing Second Life, let me be clear, in really highest fidelity in a browser, which is great. But Joe, there's a little catch, and the catch is price.
It's going to be $17 a month, and that's just for 20 hours. I use at least 30 hours a month. That's on a really quiet month in Second Life. That's just me standing behind the bar during happy hour. That's not me building anything, not me going anywhere.
I would say most pros probably could use 20 to 30 hours a week, I would say. You know? At least. So, you know, that means it's going to add up, and it's going to be pricey. And, you know, it's not their fault. That's just the way the technology works at the moment. When SR Go was $10 a month, that was already, that was pretty much my personal amount of money that I was willing to spend on it. But, you know, if you go much higher than that, there is going to be this moment where people say, I'm not willing to pay that much for it. We have to get Bill Glover back and explain this to us and illuminate, and then maybe we can get questions for him and make this sort of a live show. I think that would make sense. Here it says if you use 10 additional hours, you would be charged $12 and $17 for your monthly subscription.
Yeah, so for 30 hours, you're already close to $30.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that Linden Lab has to step in here. It is so important that many people experience Second Life the way it should be experienced, and that we can actually see the wonderful graphics. And I think that if anyone can help Bright Canopy, create something that breaks even, it's Linden Lab.
Cloud gaming, not quite there yet with affordability. Let's move on to the next topic, which is a fun video where I laughed and you laughed, and we're laughing right now just talking about it.
I laughed till I cried.
It's from Polygon, polygon.com, from the Monster Factory crew, and it's called The Boy Mayor of Second Life. These are two guys. And Griffin McElroy, he's a video producer at Polygon, and his friend Justin, and I don't know what his last name is, they went into Second Life. and they played around with the avatar creation engine. And lo and behold, they found out what we already know, is that this is a freaking powerful engine.
Yep. They abuse the system as much as they can, and it's hysterical.
Oh, it's so much fun.
That cat's as big as you are.
Thank you, God, for sending me this game.
This is the best game.
It is pretty good. It's they get very excited about it, and they haven't even realized that everything they're playing with has been built by users. They haven't even tried the building tools. This is just some guys realizing how many options you've got with the avatar sliders, changing your avatar, how much freedom you've got, and running around having a bit of fun. I mean, it is really, really funny.
And you're not offended by it?
You expect it to be a Griever video or to go in that direction because, the way they're acting and the way they're abusing that poor avatar. You think, oh God, this is going to be one of those videos. But it's not. It's actually very, very funny. And they appear to be genuinely enjoying themselves in Second Life. So, great video.
I am the Griffin McElroy and Hoop McElroy. Those are their avatar names. Maybe listeners want to send them on IM and tell them what they think of the video. I hope to have them on the podcast. Maybe we'll talk about that.
That'd be great. Maybe they can do a little bit more exploring. I hope they're going to do another video.
The next logical step for me would be to hang out at a welcome area.
Oh, God.
No, okay. Well, you know what? That's been done before. You're right. And that turns into trolling and
Yeah, no, they should just continue exploring Second Life, visiting places, and they should try the creation tools. Go to a sandbox and build. Well, I don't really want to think of what they're going to build. It's going to be horrific, but funny.
And there's another, if we want to throw this in the category of good press for Linden Lab, there's a bunch of articles, obviously, around Project Sansar. There's one on WDSU from the financial perspective. Of course, they always use Second Life in sort of the past tense, which makes me feel irked. It irks me a little bit.
No, you love that word.
Yeah, I mean, Second Life is alive. And NPR did a story on the TED Radio Hour. Well, it sounds like the Drax Files Radio Hour. I think they stole that name. Mm-hmm. The TED Radio Hour with Guy Raz has an interview with Philip Rosedale. And in the introduction, before they go into, why Philip wants to build a virtual world and then the philosophy behind it, which is a really interesting show. But in the lead up to the main event with Philip, Guy Raz, the moderator, uses Second Life in the past tense as if it were shut down. And I just think that is, all personal hurt feelings aside, this is just not accurate.
Yeah.
He makes it sound as if this is a game that is no more. And you can argue that
it is a X game.
Exactly. It is a dead parrot. The parrot is no more.
But what? There was a few interesting things being said in the WDSU and CNN Money article. It got quite a bit of spread. I really like that someone said, think of it as the YouTube of the virtual world, an entry point for anyone who wants to build a VR experience without investing a ton of time and money. And I thought that was brilliant. I think that's a much better description than WordPress, because WordPress is quite static. I mean, you can share your story and that's about it. But to me, YouTube, it's changing television. YouTube is replacing television. It's giving people a chance with almost no experience to make their own shows.
This was originally a CNN Money article by Heather Kelly that was spread around some other CBS affiliates on their news sites.
The only thing I am worried about is how easy is it going to be for people to build stuff and create stuff, because as Ebbe said in the same interview, he said creating worlds will be more difficult in Project Sansar than in Second Life. But Altberg said they've made a tool non-engineers can use. So, on one hand, he's saying it's going to be more difficult, which is not good. And on the other hand, he's saying we've created a tool non-engineers can use, which is good. So, We'll have to wait. It's not going to be Prims, but is it still going to be easy for most?
That's a very good point. That's a kind of a contradictory statement.
Yes, and in my view, it is essential that anyone who joins Project Sansa or whatever they're going to call it is going to be able to create their dreams without spending 3 years figuring out the tools.
Completely agree with you. It's really that's the promise. But I heard Ebbe also say in other circumstances and venues that Unity is too complicated, and they are striving to make it easier than the Unity engine is now. So I do think that the quote that you mentioned, notwithstanding, is that they're pretty focused on that goal to make it accessible.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
The other thing that you sent me, which I think is great, is that a Disney animator by the name of Glenn Keane uses Tilt Brush, which is a virtual reality painting tool. He talks about immersion in a video made by the Future of Storytelling group.
I can put goggles on and I just step into the paper and now I'm drawing in it. Just immersing myself in space is more like a dance. What is this amazing new world I just stepped into?
They switch to him actually drawing characters. He steps into the art with the help of virtual reality, HMD, and hand controls. It's unclear what controllers those are. Please, folks, watch the video and let me know what controllers those are. They're not the Oculus Touch, and I don't think they're the STEM controllers. But I might be off. Anyway, so he's stepping into his creations and he's drawing the creations life size. They step off the page and he talks about, how important that is to him and how that really changes his relationship to the characters, which have always been alive for him.
And even if you take the goggles off, I'm still remembering she's right there. It's real.
It's just very exciting. I'd love to give something like that a try. And I'm pretty sure that eventually this is going to be quite normal. It's going to be a tool that we'll be using in schools. Can you imagine that? Children in school.
Well, I can imagine, because we're just talking about the ease of Project Sansa, or the goal that we think Linden Lab is sort of heading towards. I mean, imagine that you could paint houses. And then they're right there. And then you paint your environments, you terraform by just painting on the ground and you're lifting it up. Just like that World Builders video by that Hollywood special effects guy a few years back.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine giving a couple of 6-year-olds a virtual space and those tools?
Okay, let's take a little breather with some music before we get to the pre-recorded interview with Jackie Morey. Here's a tune from Terry Lynn Melody. She's a Second Life performer for, I think, 7 or 8 years now. Amazing. Really great stuff. Here's a tune called Watch That Turn.
Here comes trouble. You should let me pass. I know your heart starts pumping, 'cause I move so fast. You turn the key, boy, look me in the eye. Yeah, you shifted gears, son, when you flashed that smile. You rev my engine when you call me, hun. You better hold on tight, call you're mine. Here I come. Here goes trouble. You should let Hey there, Andretti, you wanna take a chance? Boy, I want you, I'm cold hard steel, red hot pants. So tell your brakes on before you hit the wall. I tell you the truth, the faster I move, the harder they fall. Oh. is a soft touch, 'cause I drive by feel. You'll think a cougar would suit you fine. Care to seal the deal? We'll take a test drive, and I'll just pull your time, boy, keep that pace. You might win this race, you're doing fine. Oh, here comes trouble, we should have this path, but our hearts start pumping when we move so fast. Heed my warning, boy, yeah, you could crash and burn.
So that was Terilyn Melody with Watch That Turn. I want to play my conversation with Jackie Morey. Her company is All These Worlds, and she built the Ansible project, which helps space travelers connect or stay connected and engaged with their family and loved ones on Earth. It's a fascinating project. Here is Jackie Morey with what this is all about.
The Ansible project is looking to help NASA figure out ways to keep astronauts who will be going to places like Mars, very long duration space flights in the future, to help keep them psychologically healthy. When they are taking these very long journeys, they are subject to a lot of both social isolation and sensory monotony. They're basically in a tin can for months and months on end without anything to look at out the windows, without real-time communication with their families. And so NASA put out a call a couple years ago for people to address this and find ways to help keep the astronauts healthier when they go on these long trips.
Mm-hmm. Describe what you guys built, and you built it in OpenSim, I understand.
Yes, we built what I'm calling a prototype holodeck. So the holodeck from Star Trek was a place where the crew members could go and have experiences and get away from the confines of the spacecraft. So I think we're at the really alpha stage of doing something like that. But that's what I think about when I think about what we built for Ansible. So we built it in OpenSim mainly because it's a good engine. It doesn't require a lot of overhead. People can run it from a simple computer. More than that, the OpenSim instance allowed us to take control of both the server and the client so that we could customize it for the needs we have. The Ansible project, as an OpenSim example, has to run in the spacecraft, or in the case where we've deployed it, in the Mars habitat.
Right. Basically, they're testing how this would feel, if I understand it correctly, in Hawaii right now?
The Mars habitat is a setup in Hawaii up on Mauna Loa, a lava mountain at about 8,000 feet. And it's basically a geodesic dome with a couple of trailers attached, a little sleeping loft for the crew where they have 6 individual cubicles, and not much else. They have a kitchen, they have some desks they can sit at, they can watch videos, play games, that type of thing, but they don't go outside, and it's about 1,000 square feet, so there's not a lot of space for 6 grown people. This one is simulating as if they were already on Mars. So it's very cute. The family of the crew that's in there call them the Martians.
How many people are in there?
There are 6 people in there, mostly scientists. There's an architect, there's a French scientist, a German, a medical doctor. It was a very interesting mixed crew, and they put out calls to find these people. They're not astronauts, but they're astronaut-like candidates.
Now, go back to describing what you actually built in OpenSim to help mitigate, social isolation and all that space travel disease.
Space travel disease. That's funny. Would that be STD? It would be an STD.
Oh, we gotta go for it.
No, I think there's probably an official term. Anyway, in the OpenSim virtual world ecosystem we built, and that's what I like to call it, because it has a lot of different areas. We have about 25 regions that we've built out, many using some of the resources that are available to OpenSim users. So we leveraged a lot of the free content that was out there to have some of the virtual vacations, the Linda Kelly assets like the ski resort and things like that. So we have about a dozen virtual vacation regions they can take. And we also have private regions where they can build their own sorts of home sites or things that they'd like to share with their family and their friends. We also have a central area called the Family Communications Center, or FAMCOM. And that's where we put a lot of different kinds of content for them, such as art gallery shows, a nightclub with a lot of AI extra avatars in there, an AI help avatar, ways for them to see about recording their own avatar doing something and being able to leave that recording for a family member play later, because they're never in there at the same time. So we've tried to put a lot of different things in there. We've got a couple games, a shared positive memory game, chess, but we have ways for them to leave messages, to leave photos for each other. And we're just in week 4 of this, so it remains to be seen how they're going to use it, how they overcome the learning curve, and what it actually becomes to them. But they are using it. So everybody's doing their 3 sessions a week, which is really encouraging.
Now you have to explain, of course, you just hinted at it. Synchronous interaction is basically not possible, because if they would be in space traveling to Mars or wherever, there would be substantial lag. What would be the practical example where they get the benefit of a virtual world with the lag, and how significant is the delay in fact, to Earth?
The delay in communications from Earth to Mars is about 40 minutes round trip. Now, we're not updating anything nearly that fast. We actually have a space server and an Earth server. And the Earth server is used by friends and family on alternate days. And the space server is used on the other days by the crew in the habitat. And then what we do is we synchronize them every morning at 3 a.m. Hawaii time, so that the other side can see the changes made by their colleagues and their families. So they're never in there at the same time. And this is true for almost all communication on a mission of this sort. Email they have, asynchronous things like all of these crew keep blogs, things like that, but they can't have a real-time video link up like the members of the ISS crew have every day. So they do have other ways of staying in touch asynchronously. They can email each other's videos, things like that. This, we think, is giving them a little different flavor of being connected, by the games that we're having them do that sort of reinforce these shared positive memories, by the fact that they can leave recordings of their avatars. So even if they can't be in there at the same time, say the friends and family all got together and they each recorded their avatars singing happy birthday and stood there in the family communication center or a private region. And then when the crew member comes in on the next day, they can hit play on all those little record buttons, and everybody sings happy birthday to them.
I hear a lot of people saying, who dismiss anything that is remotely smells like a virtual world, like, come on, this is a synchronous environment, and you want to sell it to an asynchronous situation. I would exactly say what you just said. Plus, I would say it is also the shared space, which is still very valuable versus email or other things, because the shared space is, the metaphor could be it's a house. The kids are maybe not there when I come home from work, but there might be something there, like a little clay sculpture that they made. And when I come in the house, then I see that clay sculpture and I feel like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Leaving traces of what the people are doing for the other side is we think, going to be very powerful. And messages, as I said, photos they can upload. We hope to have a big bulletin board where they can post pictures of themselves so that the other side can see what you're doing when you're in that virtual world, even if they're not there. So we'll have a number of methods. The recordings are probably the coolest, I think, because to click on a button and see the whole avatar show up and do something or say something, spoken word, is really exciting. And they've had a lot of fun playing with that.
But what you're saying isn't that an issue? And I guess that's what you're studying also, because some people have still issues with connecting to an avatar as their digital extension. Kind of, it's like 50% of the people really embrace that concept, and the other 50% just says, what's the point? I don't understand it. Because what you're describing, leaving messages and things like that, is always connected to an avatar that you create. And if people can't connect to their avatar, then it's kind of pointless.
Well, there is that. And one of the studies I hope to do sometime in the near future, it's about ready to roll. We've totally designed it and had a lot of great input from very high-level scientists on it, is exactly what type of personalities will bond easy with an avatar, and which ones might need a little more hand-holding through the process. Because I think you're right. I don't know what the numbers are. None of us really know those numbers because there hasn't been a study like this. But we suspect there is a certain personality type that we have targeted that will be the kind that absolutely loves having an avatar, is head over heels in love with that avatar. And then there's going to be the other end of the spectrum. I don't think those people will never use avatars at the other end of the spectrum. I think what's going to happen is we just find ways that make the avatar relevant and salient for those kinds of people. And also, I think there are so many kids growing up today using avatars, 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 of them, Minecraft and Club Penguin and all of these things, that the next generation isn't going to have that adverse reaction to the use of an avatar.
At this point, I always say that I have examples of older people who embrace virtuality, whatever that means, and I have people that I know in their 20s who completely reject everything. It's kind of a weird movement back to nature, I guess. I mean, they reject it on the grounds of that engaging with digital content is destroying the planet. That might be a real minority of people. So this is all totally anecdotal in my own life. But I just don't know if it's necessarily a generational issue.
If someone believes that having an avatar is somehow artifice, that they're not being honest in some ways, then that's something to overcome. And I would say they just haven't found the right use for it. As you've seen with a lot of the older people, they have found a need at that point in their lives for something like this, and being an avatar absolutely fills the bill. And maybe it's not generational, but maybe it's where you are in your life that indicates that.
Now, going back to the content, I'm interested in the bots. I mean, you guys did such pioneering work already with bots in SL, with the museum guide, in the Native American Museum.
Yeah, the storyteller. We did storyteller. We did several guides, and now for Ansible, we have done this club full of club goers because we didn't want them to go into a club and watch videos. So we have cartoons and comedian videos in there. But, if you go and you sit at a table by yourself and it's a club, it feels kind of empty. So we populated it with these little, I would call these bots because they're not very smart, but they do give a presence.
Do they laugh at the jokes?
They could. We haven't quite gotten that done yet. But yes, they could be an embodied laugh track. And then they could turn into fellow dancers if the club turns into a dance floor. And you don't want to dance by yourself either necessarily. So it's interesting. I've been really impressed with the crew. They've sort of taken to building. And I didn't think they'd get into building this fast. And terraforming the land. I can't keep their hands off the land. They love to terraform the land. That
is amazing. So they really are really getting into it, taking the possibilities of Second Life OpenSim and using it.
I think so. It could be just the novelty at this point, and it does help that one of the crew is architecture student, high-level architecture student, so he kind of has a handle on building things, and I think he's bringing other people up to speed.
How does it work now with this team that is in Hawaii? They are communicating with their families, but you're monitoring that, or do they communicate with you and your team pretending to be their family?
No. So it's a study. So the 6 crew members are part of the study. And what they do is they have scheduled sessions 3 times a week for an hour or so. And before that, they take a survey. We're also taking their physiological metrics from them, breathing and some other measures that other studies that are happening in the habitat are also using. So we're kind of all using the same data for that stuff, the physiological metrics. Now, then they take a survey after it. So we kind of see how they felt before and how they felt after. They might say, oh, I was really down, but then I went in and found this message from my daughter, and it was so much fun that it picked me up. That's hypothetical. That has not happened. We are not monitoring them beyond that. I mean, that's all data that we will crunch and get some meaning out of by the end of the year-long study. We are monitoring comment boxes and issues with the system and what's being said to the intelligent guide bot. So if there's something they ask the intelligent guide bot that doesn't have something in his database, we can add it. So we are monitoring those things. I'll go in with the family and friends every once in a while, and I might give them a little lesson about how to record their avatar or how to change their appearance. But most of the help that we've given them is either through that guide bot. We've given them an extensive set of lessons in PDF form, about 10 lessons that go through almost everything.
The guidebot is for helping with the platform, with the user interface and all that.
Yes, or telling what's new in the there's a new art exhibit coming in a month, that type of thing, or go look at the new vacations in the vacation room. So if you go in the vacation room, 4 of the vacation spots will be active at any one time, and those are not really fancy vacations. There's a couple like the ski vacation that we open sourced, and there's a couple of others just like going and floating down a river with fireflies around you and all the sounds of the cicadas and stuff and lush vegetation. And you can find messages in bottles along that when you take a walk. There's also another vacation, which is what we call the hometown vacation, which is just sitting on a front porch in a suburban neighborhood at sunset, watching
the police shooting African Americans.
That's LA. No, so in this neighborhood, we have the sounds of an ice cream truck and kids playing in the pool next door and dogs barking and things like that. So it's just sort of a getaway because they're on top of a lava mountain and they have one little window to look out. And if they go outside, it's considered an EVA, a mission outside, and they have to put on spacesuits to go do that.
This is amazing. So also then the chatbot is also basically you can go in and say, I'm bored. What's new? And you can update, of course, the content as you go along. And so there might be a nice surprise of another additional vacation or activity for them.
Right. And the other thing we've done for help is, I mentioned, we've came up with a way to record your avatar doing something. So what we did was record our avatars in the different areas, introducing the area and saying, hey, this is the library, and here you can do this and that and the other thing and enjoy. And then that avatar disappears. So if you go in a new space and you don't need to know about the space, you wouldn't click on that little recording disc. But if you didn't know what to do in the space, you could click on that disc and the avatar would pop up and tell you about it and then go away. So we really like the recorded avatars, which we call vaults for virtual alts.
So when I go into a place, that has a recording there present, I will see a little icon. When I press that icon, the vault appears ghost-like and talks to me, or in chat, I suppose.
We can record audio. It is pretty special. I don't know anybody that has done this vault technology.
I got a notification from Philip Rosedale's High Fidelity, I think a month or so ago, that they have a feature where you can record avatars. So they were really pushing that new feature. As you know, High Fidelity is really focused on facial tracking and all that kind of thing. Maybe some people have criticized to the exclusion of some of the social aspects. I assume that Philip Rosedale knows where he wants to be at a certain point.
Let me talk to that. So we are using High Fidelity, and they're working with us to do a couple of things. Now, remember, this work for NASA started over a year ago. It actually started in November 2013. Don't quote me on that, but it's been going on for a while. So at that point, High Fidelity was not an option, and even today, it's still in alpha mode. I think if we do this again, we would do it in High Fidelity. But OpenSim gave us a lot of leverage for all of the assets that were out there so that we could have 25 regions and not just 2 that we built out ourselves. And it allowed us the time to make these vault recording avatars and things like that, which we didn't see being done yet in OpenSim or Second Life. So if High Fidelity had been further along, that would have been one of our options. And what we're doing right now is working with them to port our mindfulness classes that we've been doing in the virtual world. We're porting that over to High Fidelity. And then we have another project that we want to do with them. So that requires the facial movements so that the people in there can actually see what those avatars are emotionally experiencing. We didn't have that in the mindfulness in Second Life, and the instructors really missed being able to read people's expressions.
It's interesting, this transitional period with all these new worlds coming on and Linden Lab working on stuff, that OpenSim and Second Life by extension, or vice versa, as you wish, is still solidly providing a platform, despite what the press talks about every day ad nauseum. It provides a solid platform to do these types of things in a fairly easy way, because you also mentioned the open sourcing of content.
Yes, I actually wish there was more of that, but we were able to use quite a bit and then maximize those assets so that we could build out areas quickly. That is what OpenSim has given us, is the ability to do the fun stuff and not really the nuts and bolts of the system. Although we did have to change the architecture of the server and the client somewhat for our needs. So we were able to get in on our OpenSim platform and really put in the bells and whistles that we needed. What's interesting to me about this resurgence of virtual reality is that there's a company or two getting a lot of investor money because they say they are doing social VR. And their social VR is basically a robot, and you're in there with another robot, and you got a couple of eye movements, and there is no huge infrastructure to bring dozens of people together, which is really social VR. And Second Life and OpenSim, these have been social VR since before the VR resurgence. And people need to be aware that there is social VR out there. Now, people using our Ansible system can use it with a head-mounted display, and that's not a problem. I mean, that the bells and whistles to put a head-mounted display attached to social VR in Second Life or OpenSim was not a huge amount of work, and it was like ready to roll. We need to acknowledge that there is social VR out there, and High Fidelity certainly is in the same ballpark. They've been using head-mounted displays of various types and connecting everything together. So the social VR is out there. It didn't need to be invented. It just needed to be adapted to a different display device.
Jackie, you're speaking my mind. You have no idea, or I guess you do, because I'm just a broken record at this point. I sometimes say, you got goggles, we got the world.
And other people.
And people, that's right, despite some reports to the contrary. No, I mean, I really congratulate you. I mean, you're saying this is a small project, but I see this having a potentially huge impact again on just moving forward, understanding really the main thing, to put humans first.
The draw of these virtual worlds has always been their social connectivity.
Okay, last question. What's next? I mean, this is how long is this? We said it earlier. It's a year in Hawaii. How far along are we? And then you're going to look at the study and writing up a paper, I guess?
Hopefully a couple of papers and a report to NASA. So we are 1 month in. They shut the door on August 28th. And I was there. That was kind of exciting. And there's, again, pictures on the site, link I'll send you. The rest of the study goes for 11 months, and then we'll write up the data. Our control group is the last crew that was in the high seas habitat. They were in for 8 months, got out last summer, and they did not have access to a virtual world ecosystem. So we've got a good comparison of how people responded being isolated for 8 months without one, and now we'll see how they're doing for a full year with one.
Last week, interestingly enough, we had George Jorkovsky on from Caltech, and he was somewhat critical of, I wouldn't say disillusioned about Second Life. He was certainly enthusiastic, and they stopped working on it. And it's interesting that you are now collaborating again with NASA. So at the higher ups of the decision makers there still seems to be an openness, willingness to try these things.
So it's been interesting to go to some of the workshops that we have to go to for the behavioral and human performance group, because the people that we meet there actually say we are giddy about virtual reality. We are giddy about it. And, I don't hear, for years, I didn't hear people say they were giddy about it.
Yeah, but it's in the context of this new thing, right? I mean, I think we got to differentiate. My question is also, are they disillusioned about Second Life and virtual worlds versus VR? Are they only giddy because there's a new term du jour, if you will, that suggests that everything is new and shiny again, has nothing to do with the old stuff, doesn't build on anything that quote unquote failed?
No, I don't think that's it at all. I think NASA looks at what is important and what can solve problems that they have. And they see the virtual worlds, as opposed to virtual reality, solving a particular group of problems in terms of social isolation and sensory deprivation. So they're very excited about it for that. Now, they certainly have other more traditional forms of virtual reality they use for training. Evelyn Morales at NASA's JSC VR laboratory certainly is still doing work in the realm of training. And of course, in the late 80s, it was NASA that helped push the whole development of virtual reality. So who knows, maybe this time around, this work with NASA will push some of the acceptance of virtual worlds as a viable platform.
Yeah, I think that's important. My question also was in regards to kind of gauging if the brand, if you will, Second Life and OpenSim, by extension, has sort of poisoned the entire genre of virtual worlds within the realm of the government, maybe, because it has done that arguably in some business circles,
I would not say poisoned. I would say it suffered from the same sort of hype cycle crash thing that happened with virtual reality in the 90s.
And that's happening now again.
First of all, the virtual worlds that we're at the tail end of now were not the first. I mean, we had Habitat back in the mid 80s. We had Active Worlds. We've had virtual worlds, the Palace, all of those things. And they continue to evolve. They continue to get better. They continue to provide something that is deep in the needs of the human psyche. So as long as they're doing that, I don't think we'll see them go away. I think we'll see them get better and appeal to more and more people. We'll tease out why people are excited about them. We'll tease out what people need to be excited about them. And it's going to be a very different landscape in the next 10 years.
So that was Jackie Morey. There's a lot of information on our blog about her and about the current project, about her past projects. We also have a show a while back, feature show with her, which I'm going to link to. Now, Joe, this is kind of amazing. So, you can see also people on Mars at some point, or I don't know where, could interact, if we get the lag issue solved, in real time with people from all over the universe.
And thanks to virtuality, you can go back to Earth, you can sit on a beach, you can walk through the forests, you can be with your family. And of course, the latter of those options means is also very important to people right here on Earth, because I've got family living in Australia who I've never ever seen, or just once in my entire life.
Oh, I think I've seen one of your family members, and he just fell off a balcony at the Oktoberfest last week.
Oh, my family members can handle their drink. Don't you worry about that.
The end of the show, I gotta mention a few things real quick. We're racing towards the finish line of the show. The Mad P auction is happening as we go to air. It's benefiting Feed a Smile. There are SL celebrities being auctioned off. They all, promise to do something for whatever for the winner of that auction. I'm on the auction block Sunday. Are you participating in this, Joe?
Yes, I've got an auction board standing somewhere where people can bid to spend some time with me, getting a tour of 1920s Berlin and staying at the Hotel Adlon.
And then getting hammered?
Yes, lots of schnapps.
Do you have a balcony where they can fall off?
We have so many balconies.
That's awesome. I'm going to bid on that. It's all benefiting Feed a Smile, which is an amazing organization. I profiled them in episode 16 of the video series, Live and Learn in Kenya. They're building a school in Kenya, and they're collecting through Linden dollars funds to feed children, most of them orphans, and they have collected money to actually build a school, and that money comes from a virtual world. Also, Drax Files episode 32 is out about celebrating virtual filmmaking and art. Very proud of this episode because there's a lot of people that I admire in there. Not everyone could make it. Doesn't mean I don't admire them if they're not in this video, but this is something that also shows, this video is also supposed to show the connection of a Institute of Higher Learning at the University of Western Australia, and how they smartly use virtual worlds and virtual art to further their own mission of the university. Everybody's talking about how education is dead in Second Life. Watch this video, guys. If you are an administrator or an educator, show it to the folks from your institution, and because this is really working. Just maybe because they're Australians. Who knows? Everything is about Australia.
Oh, no, mate. You know, if we were saying all these things about any other country in the world, we'd be racist.
That's a very good point. Why is it completely okay to ridicule Australians?
Oh, and the Irish. You can say the same thing about the Irish. They don't mind. And the Scottish, and the Dutch, and Germans.
Yeah, I mean, Bavarians is the same thing with drinking.
Bunch of drunks, yeah.
Right, and lederhosen and stuff. You have an anniversary show in 1920s Berlin, the Flapperettes.
Yes,
Is that right?
The 1920s Berlin dance girls are celebrating their anniversary and they're having a big old dance in the theater, which is going to be stunning.
Awesome. End of the show. Today, no origin story, but we have a different topic since I felt we needed an explanation for what is happening with certain public showings of the mysterious Next Generation Virtual World Linden Lab is building. Public showings at Linden Lab headquarters. I'm going to hand it over to our mystery guest to explain all this. But first, I will say thanks for listening and goodbye, Joe.
Auf Wiedersehen.
My name is Peter Gray. I'm Senior Director of Global Communications here at Linden Lab.
Okay, Pete, could you please enlighten us about the quote-unquote open house where Project Sansar was shown at Linden Lab headquarters?
It wasn't really an open house so much as an invitation event. So the American Institute of Architects had been in touch with us a while back. In September, their San Francisco chapter runs a series of events called Architecture in the City. This year's theme for that is play, and so they were interested to see if there might be some kind of fit for what we do in terms of presenting to this audience. And the event last Friday We had probably fewer than 50 people, and they were all under NDA because we're still very, very early with Project Sansar. We introduced them to the concept of what we're building, spoke a little bit about how we see it relating to architecture and bringing value to that use case in the future, had a bit of Q&A, and then let those people experience it for themselves. For many of them, it was their first VR experience.
I would imagine that the feedback from especially that community is really valuable for you guys as well.
There are many use cases for a virtual experience platform where you can create a space and experience it with others as if you were there. Architecture is certainly one of those.
You also then hosted the Women in VR event.
Just to be clear, this was an event that we were very happy to sponsor, and we were honored to be able to host it. But we weren't the only sponsor. It wasn't our event either. It was a separate organization that pulled this together. They reached out. There's some folks that we're often in touch with, and they knew this is something we would be interested in supporting. And so they reached out asking for sponsorship, and we, of course, leapt at the opportunity to do that, and then also inquired, hey, where are you guys going to do this? Because we're very fortunate to have a beautiful and large office. There are lots of startups kind of getting involved in this space, and not everyone is as fortunate in that capacity. So we're thrilled to be able to participate and open up our space. We had, don't know the final count, but it was easily more than 100 participants.
Yeah, it was a huge turnout. I just saw a few pictures that were posted by Jasmine Kano. She posted one with this with the Ricoh Theta 360 camera, and it seemed like 100 plus people. Yeah,
they had a number of companies were here demoing to the participants. They had a number of luminaries, women who are in leadership roles and very involved in the industry, including one of my colleagues here at Linden, who's working on Project Sansar. They participated in some of the sort of group brainstorming and networking. But I think I saw on Twitter that you were already in touch with them, and so you should really speak to them about the organizers, about the details of the event.
And that's exactly what we shall be doing. In 2 weeks from now, I hope we get the mystery woman from Linden Lab there as well. That's it. Bye. Credits, please.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Maven Homes, Giza Creations, Botanical, Strawberry Sing, Abranimations, Arrows Avatars, Ison, Caravel Design, Humanoid Animations, Avacon, The Cube Republic, Loki Elliott, Fateware by Damien Fate, The Avazines Publication Family, What Next, Bright Canopy, Dutchy Furniture, Landscapes Unlimited, Dwarfins, The Den, Following Gods Incorporated, Feroce SL, Giant Snail Races every Saturday, Kona Stream, and Death Row Designs. Contact the show via Skype, DraxFiles, Avatar DraxFiles, or email radio@draxfiles.com. All right, so I couldn't help ending the show with talking about Oculus Connect because I ended up watching the stream on Twitch, and they announced a whole bunch of stuff, and then Michael Abrash is talking about the challenge of real VR in the next years and all the nitty-gritty stuff that has to happen in display technology, and they are going to sell the Gear VR for $99 at Black Friday in the United States. Oh my God.
One of the most interesting things is that it's clearly not something that's going to pass. It's not a fad this time.
Yeah, they're building an app store, and they have a painting app in there.
They have this deal together with NVIDIA and Alienware and Asus and Dell and Intel and all sorts of things.
AMD.
Create Oculus-ready certified computers. So these will work with the Oculus. Some of them are under $1,000, which of course is still a lot of money, but it's pretty much an average price for a good computer.
All right, so in other words, VHS versus Beta, is it over?
No, it's only just beginning. And another thing is Netflix, which apparently is big outside of where I'm living, is offering some sort of virtual reality room or even apartment where you can watch videos in VR.
It's social VR. Don't you understand this? You're sitting together and you're watching videos.
I didn't get that from their intro. All I got is they've got a virtual reality room where you can watch a television. But if you can share it, that's quite interesting.
You can probably sit there with a non-player character that plays your mom is going to bring you some pizza down into the
That would
basement.
be nice. But one thing I want to say beforehand is that, again, it's very interesting that Netflix comes now with something big, super duper, that we in Second Life have been doing for years.
Yeah, but Second Life is not VR because you don't have goggles.
Yeah, well, we've already proven that statement wrong.